the day divorce and separation. We want to take a look at the differences between these and what they mean, of course, for a couple who've decided that maybe there's nothing left for us, we can no longer cohabit, and of course they'd probably want to part ways. And joining me this morning, Joan Kibera, marriage and family therapist. Thank you so much for your time. Of course, when I say Joan, automatically it has to be the lady, and you're looking good. Of course, in praise of Africa and the Ankara, amazing. And of course, right next to her is Matthew Vungula, and of course, the only other guest that we have on board, that is a marriage counselor. Good to have you this morning.
Thank you.
And I mean, marriage is generally a sensitive issue, a good thing. You know, of course, thanks to the good books, and generally, it's a good thing to have two people coming together, you know, making a life. But then again, people come in with the fears of separation, people come in with the fears of divorce, people come in with the fears of what is going to play out next. And sometimes you're told there's no manual to this. In as much as counselors are always out there telling you that generally you expect this, and all that, but at some point we've argued that maybe it's all different depending on the couple, on how you deal with your issues. So this morning we want to talk about the question of divorce and separation. Sadly, we've started with divorce and separation and not marriage itself, but then again, I'm sure this is going to come in. So just to kick us off, of course, on this particular discussion, the biggest question then I would ask this morning is, what then is the difference between divorce and separation, or maybe legal separation? Ladies first, ladies first.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
There's a difference between divorce and separation. Separation is that period that a couple takes away from each other. And this period can be used to think through their marriage, to think through themselves, see if it is something they can work through, or what they need to do is totally separate.
Right.
So it's that period for the couple to think through. Separation is actually when they have gone through the process and it has been annulled by the courts.
Right. Okay, so what's the legal significance to the aspect of separation?
Before I answer your question, first I want to pick from where she has left,
Right.
about the difference between divorce and separation. I want to propose that divorce and separation, it's almost, we are talking of the same thing.
Right.
It's only that we are talking at different levels. It's like separation is the beginning.
It's not always definite that when people are separated, they're going to divorce eventually. Probably they realize that, oh, we need each other, and they come back.
It is like the stage of contemplating the direction to take.
Yes.
Whether you are going to go to the legal way, to formalize the issue of separating, because divorce comes when you have already formalized. You have gone to the court, and the court has given you the authority to go ahead to separate. And what I'm saying is that separation is basically the beginning of a process, because divorce is a process.
Right.
It's not just something that you wake up and you say, we have divorced. It's something that begins early. Then you continue with now they come to different people.
Right.
They consult with the different people to see whether their marriage can come back, can work. But once they find that they cannot make it, then they go to the next level. So I want to say that basically it's one thing. It's only different levels that we are talking. When it comes to the legal aspect, I'm not the one who's supposed to be talking of this. But when it comes to the legal aspect of divorce, I think there are different things that we can talk of when it comes to the legal aspect of divorce. And I don't want to venture on that, because I know there are people who are good on that, lawyers, and who can give us a better position of that. But I want to say that if people decide to go to the court, there's a way to go about it.
All right, Joan, bring it back to you and probably argue in a different way from what Matthew sort of feels like. Probably these things are not probably one and the same, because I'm thinking you can decide to go through that separation process and then eventually decide to come back together. So of course it doesn't necessarily need amount to, you know, a divorce and all that. So technically speaking, I'd want you to make this clear. Is it more or less one and the same thing as, you know, Matthew would argue, or maybe there's always a different route to this or a different way to view this? And when we're talking about separation, what then is the duration that one would say in terms of years or in terms of months that would be considered proper time for, you know, just contemplating whether you're going to divorce or not?
I will start by looking at it differently from him and agreeing to some level. The agreement is, yes, in both setups of separation or divorce, there are the psychological effects that come with it.
Yes.
Now, on that part, yes, it looks closer to the same path. On other perspectives, I would say it's no, it is not one and the same thing. Because when two people are living together and they are in that situation when they are very, very toxic to each other,
Right.
they are not benefiting each other, they are becoming a point of unhealth and affecting each other negatively, then there are very many dimensions that a couple can take. One is seek help, and seeking help I would really talk about from where I stand professionally, because most of the time is only a professional who is able to address the diverse factors. I'm talking about someone that is trained in the matters marriage.
Yeah.
And that is one way when a couple can seek help and work through things. And actually the best way, better than separation. However, people separate again for very many other reasons. And especially, I am not talking about what I find important or valuable. I am talking about reasons why people separate. Especially when there's violence involved, when issues of infidelity or some level of emotional abuse, and the other partner feels like this is very unhealthy for me.
At what stage as a therapist? Because then one would argue that, you know, once you see it once, that's it, disappear. Others would tell you, you know, just sit and wait to see whether it's going to recur or whether it's going to happen again, then give yourself time and step out. So at what point, or it depends with the couple?
At what point of
just understanding that, okay, well, things are not working out right. For instance, when you're talking about violence, if it happened once, you know, people say that if it happens once, it will happen again and again. So step out as early as that particular time. So, I mean, what would be your advice as a therapist?
Now, I will look at it from this perspective. Before violence happens, there are signs to watch out for.
Yes.
And when you see
Telltale
these
signs.
signs, and these signs are the ones I'm going to describe right now, when you see these signs, it's time to seek help, other than wait for you to get to the point of separation.
Right.
Because all issues can be handled as long as the two people involved are willing to get into it.
Right.
But we're also coming from a culture where people stigmatize help.
Right.
Because I see every day that if you need help, it's only two people that can handle a situation of a marriage. Something I totally disagree with. If that were true, then we wouldn't have the high levels of divorce.
Right.
And at the point when you see there's constant disagreement, we are not able to resolve things as the two of us. And when you begin to feel like your partner is demeaning you, is not listening to you, is not thinking about you, that is the point that people need to seek help, because there is help.
All right. Matthew,
Yes.
help is crucial, like Joan would put it.
Yes.
But the main reason why people have probably stigmatized help is simply because there's that condemnation that comes along with this, pointing of fingers and people looking at you as a failure. And sometimes it's rubbed on your face directly and you wonder, why did I even ask about this in the first place? And equally, there's been a lot of mistakes that many people have done in terms of seeking the right help. That, you know, you present your case, yes, to somebody or a third party, but then probably not the right third party to present to. A man would tell you, you know what, hit her, because then a woman cannot speak to you the way she's speaking to you. I mean, another woman would tell you, I mean, if I were you, I would step out. So in real sense, you realize that maybe this was not the right help to seek. So as a counselor, what would be your ultimate advice for a person who's going through this, or maybe a couple that is going through this, and what would be the right direction to take in terms of seeking help?
Before I address that issue, I want to say that divorce, because it's like divorce is like when publicly you have come out and you have said that this marriage is not working for me. As opposed to separation, it's like something that is happening behind the curtain and nobody is watching. But divorce comes when you are out there and everyone knows that this marriage is no longer working. Now, when it comes to the seeking of help, it is unfortunate, let me say that, it is unfortunate that we are coming from a culture where men think that they are superior. There is a gender that thinks that it's superior than another.
Yeah.
And there's this kind of theory that true men never make mistakes and they never apologize. I want to say that before it comes to the point of seeking help, because let me tell you, everybody who has come to the point of divorce, in one way or the other, they have sought so many kinds of
help,
interventions from their friends, from the churches, from the professionals, but few who go to the level of professionals, but they seek help from other people.
Is it very expensive? Or what really alters them from seeking a professional
I
help?
want to say not that it is expensive. It is lack of information.
Okay.
Yes, because especially in our African continent, I think the issue of professional counseling has not come clear to most of the people, because they think of their religion when it comes to the issues of or marriage. Very little do they think of professional counselors.
Right.
And I want to say that before they seek for intervention, they think of their their family first. That's why you find them going back to their parents, going back to their siblings, and seeking help from them. Then, if it doesn't work there, then they go to their pastors. And me, I would say, if I could give my opinion on this area, is that marriage is an institution, and I think there's something that we are not getting it right. Because divorce and separation, I think they are on rise.
Yes.
They are on rise because people are seeking, can I say they are seeking the wrong antidote for their problems.
Right. Or do we start on the wrong foot maybe to ask? Because probably sometimes you're advised, go seek professional advice before you even walk into marriage, but we barely or rarely do that.
I want to tell you, if I come to you with an issue, I want to tell you, it's not easy to say that I'm not the right person to help you in this. They will always give you their perspective of the kind of help that you need, whether you are an expert on that area or not. But they will give you their opinion, whether it's good or it's for making you worse than before. But everybody will give you the side of their story, their opinion, and their theory on how to help you. But I would want to say that when it comes to issues of divorce, can I say something?
Briefly, so we can loop in.
I've had people like sharing their story through radios.
Yes.
And receiving advice from people calling from different places. I want to tell you that is terrible. That is terrible, because the kind of things they receive from their friends out there, it's more worse than what they are going through.
I am curious, crossing over to the therapist, well, he says that is not right. Sometimes you're advised, speak out. Speak out, it will help you solve the problem, halfway. It will help you relax yourself. And in a way, people would tell you that in as much as sometimes it's shameful to speak out, you just want to hide yourself, when you come out to speak out, you get that kind of help. Sometimes people feel comfortable confiding in figures that they do not know, or maybe figures that don't know them, because they sort of feel like, on radio, nobody is watching me, nobody is seeing me, so I'll just speak it out, and maybe I'll get an answer out of it. And some of them will tell you that they've probably gotten answers out of it. So What are the best ways to approach this help and the right people to, and just the best way to go through divorce? Because equally, it's not a very nice process. And I want to assume that professionally, that is what you're handling, that aspect of just telling this person, the first one and everything. Because the last thing you can ever do is point a finger at them or even tell them that, you know what, divorce is not right. Because it happens that it has happened to very many people. So moving forward, pick up your pieces and step on.
We'll start from the point of looking at what society and how they view marriage, separation, and divorce. I have heard severally growing up that it is the work of the woman, and other people believe it's the work of the man to make a marriage work.
Yeah.
So we are looking at a society that is already biased when it comes to issues marriage. As you seek help from the society, and I'm not saying there's absolutely no help, but I'm saying as you go into the society, then you need to be expecting that you're likely to be blamed for what is already happening. And this is, I am talking about, because you're asking, where do we seek help?
Right.
So when you go to the society, expect that you're likely to get biased kind of advice because of where the person you're looking at is coming from.
Right.
Now, this then leads us to the second thing that I want to ask. When people get sick, who do they see?
The doctor.
Is it a question that do we ask people, do we visit the elders,
It's
do we
automatic.
ask, do I go to my mother? It is automatic that you seek help from a trained doctor or specialist in that particular health area that you're looking out for.
Right.
So I do not get it what makes it so difficult when it comes to mental health, which divorce, separation, and resolved issues in marriage and all that revolves around. I don't get it what makes it so difficult for people to seek help professionally.
Right.
Because there's a reason why we will go to the doctor and not to my dad or to my sister or to my friend, because they are trained. They know how to handle illnesses.
Right.
And so is the case for professionals in the area of marriage. Seek someone who is specifically trained in area of marriage. This person is the only one who can help you diagnose or find the reasons that the marriage is suffering, and not any other person.
People would argue that it's probably based on experience, sometimes to get advice from that, and maybe that's the reason why they see it that, okay, well, a professional will just tell you this, will approach it on a general perspective and maybe not go down and boil into understanding your very own problems.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Now, I ask again people, when you go to take your child for ECD, do you ask this teacher if they have given birth?
No, you don't.
When you're going to the process of delivery, do you ask the guy now who is delivering you, do you have children? Because then again, that is where the experience counts. But now to break down how professionalism works, it works on principles that have been tested and found to work.
Right.
That means if someone is trained in an area and they are competent, because we will agree again, it's not everyone who went to school that can do certain things. So there's training, and the person has also worked on themselves to be competent in a certain area. So when a person gets to that point, then irrespective of their experience, they are able to handle the issue. This one I need to say today, because I know there's a lot of confusion, that someone has to be married for 10 years, for 20 years, for 30 years. I do not dispute there is the wisdom of age. But again, there are people who are married 50 years and their marriages are really not working.
And how do you get someone to that point before, of course, we come to you? How do you get someone, in the event that I come to seek professional help, how do you get me from that point of course, what I want to hear or what I want my ears to hear or what I want, of course, you to tell me. And, you get me to the point of reality. That is okay. I know you don't want me to tell you as a professional, step out of that marriage because it's not healthy for you. Because deep down you want your marriage to work, that's what they will tell you. And you come seek professional advice, hoping that the professional will tell you, hang in there, but they tell you contrary to what you expect. So how do you get them to this box and tell them that this is the reality of life, and you know what? It's important that you switch as early as now, if at all you have to make the best of your future. Because it's a very hard thing, I would assume.
Sorry? I need to say that professionals do not advise.
Oh.
That is the work
What do you get from a professional?
A professional takes you through a process of finding your own inner capabilities.
Okay, of making a decision as a person and not what you think. Okay.
Yes, basically that's the difference between a professional and any other person out there.
Who will tell you, talker.
And you know why I cannot advise you? Is because the way my marriage works is not the way, even our personalities are different.
Right.
So it cannot work for you. So I will take a couple through a process of them finding what works for them. Then you ask, but then how different is it from them solving at home?
Right.
They come because there are many reasons why people are not able to. So first of all, let's look at how people are brought up.
Right.
You and I have been brought up very differently. So assuming I get into a marriage setup, or two people get into a marriage setup, you're respecting they are coming from different ways of life, different ways of thinking. Their perspectives are totally even their view of marriage and expectations are very, very different. So this is where a professional comes in. And again, here I'm talking about coming through and being prepared by a professional who
Right.
can be able to help you see you're coming from this kind of life and this person comes from this kind of life. You think differently, you do things differently. How do you harmonize and merge? Not telling you this is how you do it. It is helping you to harmonize and merge.
Right.
So when a couple comes to a therapist, they are helped to think, okay, this is your way of thinking is not wrong. This is their way of thinking is not wrong.
Right.
How do you harmonize so that it works for both of you?
All right.
That's basically what professionals do.
Okay, thank you. And Matthew, in as much
Yes.
as maybe we're running away from the legal aspect of it, it's important to note that in this time and age, it's very hard to rule out the legal aspect of issues and all that based on what, of course, the laws provide in terms of marriage. And there are different forms of marriages I would want to acknowledge. Of course, the come we stay issue, the things. And today we witness the cases that are in court, the Linturi factor, for instance. I know a lot of things coming aboard and you asked, was it formalized? Was this and this? Did this play out and everything? So at what point would you then advise a couple or maybe people who've come to present their problem to you, you know what, that this is beyond just counseling, then it's important that you proceed to address this issue legally? Is it when, of course, it's official that these people have gone through the formal processes of marriage that are stipulated in the Constitution or maybe in the Marriage Act?
Thank you. I want to say that there are so many factors that are in interplay
Right.
when it comes to divorce. And as my colleague has said, I can't agree more with her about how professional handle the issue of divorce.
Right.
Because it's a complex issue, and you don't look at the issue of divorce. When you come to me, I will not just factor you as a person, because there are so many other people who are involved in that marriage, and to have effect and impact, let's say to the children, let's say to the bigger family, and to the other family. So it's a big thing. So it's not a straight thing to come and tell you, okay, this marriage of yours is not working. But it comes to a point because my friend has said it well, that you work together to enable this person to find out what works best for her or for his marriage. And it comes to a point where now that the marriage is not working, it's not me to tell them to go to the court.
Okay.
It is them now to take the decision. It is not me advising them, because we are working together. If they come to a point and they find that we cannot, our marriage cannot continue, and possibly they think that because we cannot continue together, going to the court is the best way to go about it. Then me, I will not tell you go. But
Sounds to me like probably that's the reason why most of the people will run away from this, because I don't want to go to a person who's going to give me half-baked solution. I don't want to pay for a service that is not going to give me, something that is fulfilling enough. And to me, it sounds as though, technically what people will tell you, what, I'll tell you this and this and this, but at the end of the day, the solution lies with you. And true to it, the solution lies with you, but that is not what the ears want to hear. And, because when you talk about the involvement of other people, the involvement of property and all that, it's always important important to work out arrangements on, for the two of you, so that at least we do not infringe in the rights or undermine an individual's rights. So in as much as you will not directly tell me that, oh, I am not here to tell you to go to court, or I am not here to tell you to divorce your husband, I want you to give me solutions, or maybe to give me ways to approach this issue in the event that we finally decide that it's a divorce. So I sort of feel like, oh, I'm not getting answers.
Can I come in? Okay. What my friend has said is that possibly there are other avenues that you are not aware of and you are not looking at them. So we make you to see the issue of marriage in a more dynamic and diverse way. And you come out of those, like, let me call them just cocoon, because it's like you have fixed your mind in one line of thinking, and that is not, marriage is not to be seen just in one line. You need to broaden your scope of marriage. Then I'll work together with you. You know, the issue is working together with you so that you can work out for your marriage, helping you to understand gray areas.
I would hate, Joanne, for someone to walk with me and ultimately just let me somewhere. You know, when we're right here, then you're telling me, that, okay, we can clearly see that there's a ditch right there. Then you say, you know what? I've walked with you up until here. Now it's you to decide whether you will go into the ditch or... I would hate to have such a scenario, because clearly it's equally a gray area in its very own special way. So coping up, with separation and marriage, I mean, what is the ultimate, professional advice that you would give as we get towards the end of the program?
Now, we begin from that point where you picked.
Yes.
It's not like people are left in the, hanging
in the balance, hanging, all right.
Not exactly. What happens is when a couple comes, we are helping them see the other perspectives of the marriage.
Right.
If we evaluate, and it's a process to evaluate, to allow them to go through evaluation process, if they feel, both of them feel the only way out here is
divorce,
separation, that's where it begins. Okay. If they feel that is the way, remember, it's not about me, it is taking them through a process. If they have reached this process after all the other perspectives and they feel my way out is separation, then yes. Then what the first thing we do is refer them to a family lawyer, who is able to help them legally, because my area is not legal. Remember,
are there times that you feel like, you know what, anyway, he is a point of no return, but you genuinely cannot tell them?
But you see, it's not me telling them, it's them evaluating.
I know, but are there times that you feel like, anyway, yendi mahali?
Honestly, a couple can work out anything if they want to.
Okay.
But then if they get to this point of, well, this is beyond us, then this is the point we refer and say, see a family lawyer, then they give you all the legal dynamics. Then my part is to take them through the process of now separation. Okay. Help them understand what they are expecting from a societal point, from a personal point. If they have children involved, what are they going to experience? Then what are the things they need to put together so that their lives can keep going? And of course, later, take them through the healing process. Divorce is a very wounding, divorce and separation is a very wounded process. People are left very wounded. So it's taking them through the process of healing. Because again, one of the things that people don't work through is preparation for separation. They separate because things are happening. Then once they have, and this is why people keep coming back, because they were not ready for what they find out there in terms of the effects.
The effects. Okay, let's engage my co-host also, or loop him in. What do you make of this discussion, sincerely speaking? Do you have a question to these counselors and the counselor and the therapist on Brown or on board in regards to matters of divorce? Or maybe are there reactions on board, of course, coming from the viewers in regards to that?
Yes, of course, we have some who are sending in their tweets regarding the discussion that pertains separation and divorce. And Mama Mboga says that she is loving the show.
Okay, thank you.
Well, pertinent discussion there, and it is an issue that continues to be, of course, causing a lot of concern within the spheres of the society when it comes to separation and divorce. And that, again, speaks to the essence of the unifications of the different families that are the units or the building blocks of the society, feeding in of course, children. But again, we are in times of a secular constitutional Kenya where we have all these different discussions that people have their own opinions that are differing, well-documented differences. And it's equally pertinent as following up on that story and that discussion very keenly. Again, what needs to be done, the do's and the don'ts in the family institutions to prevent the possibility of a divorce or a fallout between the husband and the wife, because that again will have a consequence on the children. That kind of psychological warfare, that the questions that children might be asking themselves going forward when that separation happens. Again, all about the commitment that need to be expressed by the partners or the husband and the wife in the institution of marriage.
Yes, we're headed to a direction whereby people, sort of view divorce as just a normal thing in comparison to what was there back then. And maybe we do not so much focus on the people around us. People have become insensitive in how they're dealing, because what you're told or what your advice is the ultimate solution or the ultimate thing is your happiness. So if this does not give you happiness, forget about your kids, forget about the assets that are there, but consider your happiness first. So much so that needs to be discussed. Unfortunately, time is not on our side. Looking at some point in time where we'll be discussing why it has become the in thing and it's not a big deal for people to divorce, for people to separate. And, people actually pride in that. But unfortunately, because of the question of time, we won't get much more. But then we pick key things that you need not to shy away from seeking professional help in the event that you're going through challenges in your marriage. We have to say thank you so much, Joan Kirera, who's a marriage and a family therapist. It was great having you this morning. And Matthew Vungula, who's a marriage counselor. Equally, it was great having you, sir. And that's where we get to wind up the show from. And thank you so much, equally, for taking care, ensuring that you were with us right from the start of the show up until now. The first discussions on matters politics and crossing over to social issues. Discussions that we'll be having time and again. And most importantly, thank you so much for your feedback. My name is Linda Alela. I throw it back to Ayub. Are you ready, Chef?
I'm Ayub Abdikadir Abdi. That's where we end and wrap up the show here on Wednesday. In about now's time, Winnie will be here with my doctor in the last edition of the week this Wednesday. And Linda will see you tomorrow for an economic debate on matters business in the country. And we'll see you, of course, tomorrow night for the primetime news and News Compass. Till then, bye-bye.